Casey, what a night of fights! Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 290 is in the books. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to come out and say it. Best fight card of the year. One of the best fight cards in recent years, plural. Maybe the best fight card since pre-COVID. I don't know, but we are here at MMAfighting.com, and this is the UFC 290 post-fight press conference. We've got our boy Jose Youngs on the ground in Las Vegas celebrating International Fight Week. And in mere moments, you look in between me and esteemed producer and undefeated Mr. 3024 himself, E. Casey Layden. There will be fighters coming up to talk. Not sure which ones, because I hear tell that Brandon Moreno and Alejandro Pantoja are both being transported. So we're definitely going to get Alexander Volkanovski coming off his sensational win just now over Yair Rodriguez, third round TKO finish. And I suspect we will be getting Dricus du Plessis coming off his surprise upset knockout of Robert Whittaker. Guys, as we wait for fighters, this has been one of the most insane fight cards. We broke the record, modern UFC, for most sub 1 minute finishes. 2 fight of the year frigging candidates. Look, it's not going to go down as one of the biggest upsets mathematically of all time, but Dricus du Plessis upsetting Robert Whittaker is an enormous upset if you just heard any of the talk coming into this fight. Alejandro Pantoja, your new UFC Flyweight champion, taking a split decision that was controversial to say the least, that it's split, not that he won. And then Volkanovski making his statement and his claim that he is the top pound-for-pound fighter in the world by just demolishing Yair Rodriguez, finishing him on the feet, the most impressive part. He finished him on the ground, but it all came set up from I believe, a right hand that put Yair in all sorts of trouble after a dominant showing.
Yeah, it was a left. It was a kick to the body from Yair, and then he countered with a right hand. Yeah,
countered beautifully. Just for posterity's sake, and because I'm a known Volkanovski hater, I will note that finish came fairly quickly after Yair Rodriguez ate a monstrous headbutt.
A knockout headbutt.
It's bad when on the replay, they replay it like 7 times, and the entire commentary booth is like, oh my God. A headbutt that would have felled other men. Yair took less than a minute, shook it off, got back out there, and got finished momentarily later. So no one will remember that, but just throwing it out there, a sensational performance. Casey, as we wait for, I'm going to assume DDP will be our first guy up. Let's start here. What's the big takeaway from this card? You look back on this, frankly, the best card of the year, one of the best cards in recent years.
Yeah. Easy best card of the year, no doubt.
Yeah, it's one of the best cards in my money in recent years. What's the first thing you're telling people about tomorrow morning if you're talking to fight fans? Hey, you got to make sure this is the thing. What's the big takeaway?
Ooh, that's a good one. To fight fans, I think if you follow
fight fans, not water cooler.
I would go Volkanovski, honestly. I'll go.
That's the wrong answer, but okay.
Well, I was just I picked Yair to win this fight.
So did I.
And I don't feel bad if I picked. I thought Yair was going to take a whooping in the first couple of rounds, but we saw that Yair kind of open up toward the end, and we're like, we're seeing it.
He was fighting his way back into it in round 3.
And
then he got clobbered.
He got clobbered with a head and then a punch. But Volk was the better fighter tonight, regardless. And great win by Volk, and just I think just cements his pound for pound status. And what did I missed the post in the speech? Did he say his arm was injured or something? Did I miss something?
Yeah, he said he needs surgery on his arm.
Okay.
Didn't specify what. Said he had a little bit of trouble in camp, but he wasn't going to not show up. Needs surgery on his arm, which. I'm not a medical doctor, and we don't know to what extent, but any surgery in the arm probably means he is absolutely out for fighting Islam Makhachev in October. That seems almost certainly not the case. So we'll talk about that on the post-fight show, because what comes next at lightweight is interesting. He did say that he was still hoping to get a third fight in this year. I said in my pre-fight column, or maybe it was somewhere else, and maybe it was the fan Q&A thing at some point this week. I would be really surprised if Volkanovski fought 3 times this year. I thought Rodriguez would beat him. And I also thought that even if he didn't beat him, fighting Yair Rodriguez, you're going to take some licks. It sounds like this was a pre-existing injury, but if he's getting surgery on it, the end of the year is relatively booked up. And we just don't see champions fight 3 times in a year almost ever. It has to be a perfect storm. I'm going to say he's probably done, but he did say he wanted to get a third one in. There's a little bit of talk about Ilia Topuria. Apparently, the two had a cage side run in. Topuria was there. If it happens, I'm guessing December. Maybe we can make that happen. But he did say that he still has his eyes on lightweight. But frankly, I want to start here for me, at least, on this. I've talked a lot of trash about Alexander Volkanovski. Stand by just about everything I said because nothing I ever said was about him as a fighter. I have maintained for years that he is quite possibly the best fighter we have ever seen, full stop. But his post-fight was exactly the thing I want to see from him. Hey, here are my targets. I'm close to chasing down some of these records at featherweight. I want to chase those down. I want to defend my belt. I still want that lightweight shot, so I'm not over here. I'm not over that, but we'll see what comes next. I got to get surgery, but if Ilia wants it, we can still hopefully get that done at the end of the year. It's note perfect for me after, frankly, a note perfect performance in the cage. Yeah. Tremendous showing from Volk. Not the story of the night. I'm sorry, Casey. I couched that question specifically because if you're saying just to the average person, that's probably the one. It's the marquee. It's the main event. It's a guy they probably know to some extent, Volkanovski, getting a great win, continuing his ascent up the all-time great, ladder. The story of the evening for people who are in the trenches didn't even happen on the pay-per-view, baby. Yeah. Robbie Lawler. When I think of this card, and I will think of this card. I am not Jose Youngs. I can't remember fight card numbers off the top of my head with some type of weird photographic memory. I'll remember 290.
290. I will remember this. You're correct.
One of the best moments in the history of this sport. That's the sort of moment. Robbie Lawler getting a 38-second knockout of Nico Price in the prelim main event.
In a very cold knockout. In a Robbie Lawler type knockout with those mean lead uppercuts. It was like,
dude,
yeah.
He just hit the piss out. They got into the clinch and he just goes left hand, uppercut, left hand, drop the lifeless body of Nico Price. Like, it was so vintage and so perfect. And I give the UFC a ton of guff. You know this. Mm-hmm. Nothing but full credit to them for every piece of it. I thought the matchmaking, win, lose, or draw, I thought Nico Price is exactly the right guy. He's a guy that Robbie Lawler can beat, and that will certainly be fun however it goes. And then they get the win, and they get Robbie Lawler up there, stoic as ever Robbie Lawler, and they crack him by playing a montage of his highlights with voiceover from Dana White saying one of the best of all time, one of the greatest guys, one of the most exciting guys. And Robbie Lawler is up there fighting back tears as he watches his career in miniature. It's the best retirement.
The tears won. He didn't fight them back.
He was trying it, and then just was like, all right, well, here we are, man. It was. There might not be a better moment in this sport. Like, there are great ones. The Leon Edwards, you're letting him bully you, son, still sends shivers. But like Robbie Lawler's retirement, storybook ending doesn't begin to describe it. It made, very selfishly, it made me feel like my fandom was worth it. Like, the years I have poured into this sometimes maddening endeavor, that there was a genuine payoff for it, to be like, that's what I was hoping for and wanted. It is, good God, Robbie, don't come back. Just don't do it. It can never end better. Just let this be the time. It's perfect. And I'll remember this title defense from Volk. I'll remember Alejandro Pantoja's title win. Tremendous win. We'll talk about that plenty. We're going to for sure talk about DDP, my guy. But first with a bullet is Robbie Lawler.
Dude, like, the last 6 fights, I'm just looking at it right now. The last 6 fights, like, every single one of those are like pretty amazing storylines. Every single fight, even the boat.
Every one of them.
Every one, like, incredible. And yeah. Like,
that's the thing is, we knew that there was a chance of that coming in. The whole talk was the early prelims are okay, but whatever. They delivered awesome action, by the way.
They were great.
And then the prelim card's building, and it builds to Robbie Lawler, and then it builds all the way up the main card to this crescendo, and it delivered. Like, it it checked every box. And exactly like you were saying, all 6 of those, like there is a very large and very real story from all of the remaining 6, like the final 6 fights. It never happens.
Never. Yeah. It was like I've been working in mixed martial arts for over 15 years now, and the feels I had with Robbie Lawler when they were showing this, the just actually him walking
Dude, I
out
cried. I straight up cried. I'm not embarrassed to say that at all.
It
I
started
cried.
out when he was walking out, and like he didn't come out to "Hold On, I'm Coming" by Sam and Dave. He came out to
That
the
was
that he came out to
Mhm.
the I don't know, Last Mohican's cool song. I don't know, you know
Mhm.
that song, everyone loves it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Monitory, and it was just beautiful. And then the fact that Robbie, before he walked in, this is before the fight started, Robbie walking out, kind of looking around, like
Soaking it
Robbie,
in.
soaking in, like wow, this is. I didn't expect that. I thought, because Robbie's just so Robbie
Mhm.
Lawler, but like it's like, oh my god, like he has feelings, like this
He even
means a
he even
lot.
tried to do it in the post fight. He even sort of tried to no sell. Joe was like, "Just thanks to all my coaches, man. It's a great camp. Really, really happy. Thanks to my family. Couldn't have done it without you." And then they played the montage, and they just got him. And it got like I said, it got me too. And I know other
Dude, and
people.
big props to the UFC production crew by having the little
Was
picture-in-picture of Robbie crying. I was like, oh,
it? Like I said, I give them trash a lot, and I think they deserve it. Note perfect. Like
sometimes they
give
get it
them
right. They
all
got it right.
they. And that's why I give them trash, because they are capable of doing perfect, and when
Exactly.
they do, it is so rewarding. Like I said, it's rewarding, and even the little touch, like you mentioned, he didn't come out to "Hold On, I'm Coming." When they played him out after the montage and he was leaving,
Yeah.
"Hold On, I'm Coming" dropped, and I like that got me again. I was like,
Yeah, me too.
hell yeah, man! Like, dude, in a sport where the endings are always bad, where there are very few like dope things, is one like it's genuinely one of the best moments that this sport has ever
Yeah.
produced. And universally, because Robbie Lawler, like nobody doesn't like Robbie Lawler, like universally loved. I have a question I want to bring up on the post show that we might talk about for hours, or I might just have to like write on because I genuinely don't know the answer. But I thought of it when Robbie was saying, it was just like, in the context of Volkanovski, I do not believe there's a person alive who would say that Alexander Volkanovski isn't better than Robbie Lawler, isn't a greater quote unquote fighter than Robbie Lawler. Like, he is higher on that Mount Rushmore. And absolutely no disrespect to Volkanovski. If he retires tomorrow, if he retires in the best way possible, it's not going to evoke the emotion that Robbie Lawler did. And why is that? And does that maybe mean that our conceptions of greatness are flawed? Because like Robbie Lawler is he not just the greatest? Because he makes me feel the most things, and that feels like a really good statement of being a prized fighter, is
What?
making everybody universally love you and celebrate you as your career ends.
And well, I mean, I think of his walkout song, and it came from it became popularized from the movie Last of the Mohicans, and I think of Robbie Lawler that way. Like
He is absolutely.
he's the last of that generation. That's that type of fighter.
It's
That
it's him and Arlovsky are of the same generation, but Robbie Lawler is a very different fighter than Andre
Robbie's a little
Arlovsky
different. Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Like,
Andre's Andre, but yeah, Robbie's just he's one of one. One of one. There's no you can't. I don't know. Like
I'll say one of
we're
two, because
oh,
I think
who's your other?
Justin Gaethje, if he
Oh,
spends another 3-5 years doing this, is almost the same. But there ain't more than a
yeah,
handful of Robbie
yeah.
Lawlers out
I
there,
think
man.
yeah. Oh yeah. I think what Robbie had that was special too was the fact that like he didn't have some kind of big collegiate wrestling career. He was just a dude that fought dudes in bars and just like, oh, I can make money out of this. And the fact that he started in the UFC when he was freaking teen or something, and then
His whole career was such a joy.
and then
Him
somehow
winning the
he
title
became
was such like an emotional
past
thing.
his prime when he wasn't
Way,
supposed to be good
way
anymore.
after his prime.
That was
Way
the crazy.
after he was his best.
That
And then
was
he
the wild.
defended the belt like 3 times. It was insane.
3 fight of the best evers he had. Unbelievable.
3-time fight of the year, 3 years back to back to
Yeah,
back is probably never getting touched. It's probably never happening again, ladies and gentlemen. We've talked a lot about Robbie
Yeah.
Lawler. We mentioned Alexander Volkanovski up at the top, and we're going to give him plenty of credit. Don't you guys
Oh,
worry,
yeah.
certainly, as we get into the post show. But we have only briefly discussed it, and it needs to be talked about. Alejandro Pantoja, man. We have a new UFC flyweight champion. Incredible performance for him from my money. I was on the watch party with Connor Burks and Mike Heck, the esteemed Mike Heck, and I thought Pants was done in round two. Like looked very close to getting that finish in the first, and then Moreno started cooking, started flowing. You saw the sort of demeanor of Pantoja change a little bit. He had such a bulletproof confidence. I said live that like I think it looks to me like Pantoja could walk through a wall of bullets right now. He is fearless. You see that change in round two as Moreno started to get going, and Pantoja just found it. Just found another gear, elevated, championship medal right there. And I had him winning the back 3 rounds. I had him winning that fight 49-45. I gave him a 10-8 for the first. But I want to talk to you, Casey, because I believe you scored this fight for Brandon Moreno. Am I correct?
I did score for Brandon Moreno.
What
And
rounds did you give Mr. Moreno?
oh god, I put this in our Slack channel. I have to actually rewatch the fight tomorrow because the fight was so good. And
Incredible.
this is why I don't. This is why I stopped actually judging for a little bit and start. I realized I was just watching as a fan, like for about 2.5 rounds. I think I kind of. You ever get those moments like sometimes you're kind of
Wow.
all right, score. What's up?
I just looked at MMA decisions. 3 people from MMAfighter.com scored that fight for Brandon Moreno. I
Oh
knew
wow.
that you did, and I knew that
Yeah.
Shaheen Al-Shadi did. Our own Alexander K. Lee also had a 48-47 Moreno scorecard.
Yeah. What was the kind? What was okay? The rounds I remember clearly. 1 and 2 are pretty easy to score, right? Yeah. 1 was easy
Right.
Pantoja. 2 was obviously Moreno.
Absolutely.
We're
1
not
and
giving
2 are the undeniable. If you don't score those rounds
undeniable. Yeah.
that way.
Our,
I
our,
scored round 1 a 10-8, and nobody else did, but I
okay.
thought it merited it personally.
Fair enough. But so 4 and 5, I think. I don't remember 4, but okay. Round 5 though, I ended up giving round 5 to Moreno. I had a 2-2 going into the 5th, and I ended up giving round 5 to Moreno because I thought he did more damage in the striking in the first 2.5 minutes versus the back control and little submission attempts. I have no issue with round 5 going to Pantoja though, because back control is a super dominant position, damage or not. And that's why I feel though that I think Ben Cartledge, am I saying it correct?
Ben Cartledge scored the last 4 rounds for Moreno. He gave Pantoja a 10-9 and then scored 2, 3, 4, and 5 all for Moreno.
Essentially giving Pantoja no credit for any sort of positional dominance.
Back control, like very clearly, Ben Cartledge, for the record, tends to be a really good judge. For the most part, has done quite well. Not, he's not a Saul D'Amato, not an Adelaide Bird, who we'll talk about in that regard. But pretty clearly, if you look at his scorecard, this is not one that needs explaining. I disagree with it fundamentally, but very clearly, he just did not give Moreno a ton of credit for. I looked this up at the time. UFC
Pantoja.
Stats had it as, Pantoja.
Okay.
UFC Stats had Pantoja with 2 minutes of control time in the 3rd round, 3 in the 4th, and another 2 in the 5th. And so he pretty clearly just did not give Pantoja credit in a meaningful way for that round. Certainly outweighed it in favor of Moreno, which is a position you can take. It's one that I would fundamentally disagree with, but do at least understand what he was judging, even if I don't like it.
Yeah, and I guess I have to review the rules again, the judging criteria again, because I know damage is supposed to be the highest criteria, but not the only criteria. And I feel like he was just scoring basically a boxing match, and everything else was just whatever. But
yeah.
Either way,
I don't think you should give 5 to, and I will also say, like, I was watching it live. Like, I'm always happy. I'm never going to stand impossibly strong on any belief on fight night because it's not the cleanest viewing experience while we're working and doing other stuff. It's really hard for me to think you should score around 5 for Moreno because he did not do a lot of damage. We were talking about it live. I was like, I think Moreno really needs to try and send a message here, and he was just kind of piddling for a lot of that round, and then also gave up back control for like a
Yeah.
big stretch of it. So
I have to, like I said, that is not the hill I would die on round 5. But I
yeah,
felt Moreno did enough. But also, I was really caught up in the moment. I feel just as a fan watching, like I was just going, "This fight is so freaking good. This fight is so freaking
fight
good.
was
What's gonna happen?
unbelievable.
What's gonna
And
happen?" You know?
it came after, after we'd already had Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner, which was a fight of the year candidate. We got another one. And frankly, poor Esteban Ribovic Kamala Kirk, who had a great main card opener, and no one's ever going to remember that. Like, that could be fight of the night many other time, like many other fight nights or whatever. And it's not even in the friggin' conversation.
When you mentioned that, I was like, "Who and who?"
Yeah, the main card opener was like the event opener was a good, fun, back and forth, scrappy fight, and no one cares at all. It's just we were an embarrassment of riches today, Casey.
It was, yeah. I mean, I'm just looking through the card real quick. Yeah, jeez, freaking incredible, just incredible.
Let's
But I did score for Moreno, but I'm not. But in absolutely no way am I thinking. I would actually say I'm probably wrong. You know, if I rewatched it, I have no. Yeah.
I am very happy Pantoja won. I think he definitely deserved the win. And it's the only reason I would have want Moreno to win, frankly, is because I don't know where we go from here. Like, I know Pantoja will defend either against Amir Albazi or Brandon Royval. Albazi probably has the inside track just because Royval lost not that long ago. But we'll see how it shakes out. It'll be really fun. I'm not upset with that. Brandon Moreno now has 3 losses to Pantoja. Only 2 of them are official because one of them came on the Ultimate Fighter, which is viewed as a amateur or exhibition bout or whatever.
Yeah.
But, the UFC isn't super active in pushing, running back O2 fights into trilogies or tetralogies in this point. And frankly, I don't think Pantoja should have to. He's got 3 wins over the man. Is that not enough? But at the same time, I really wish we would watch them fight again because that fight ruled, and I would watch the hell out of it again.
I don't care. If the matchmaking works and Moreno wins and they come up and it makes sense, if the fight makes sense, I would have no issue with them fighting for a championship belt. And
that's the thing. I think most people will end up settling there, but I do think Moreno is gonna have to at least get 1, if not 2 more wins to make that happen. And we'll see how it goes. But
I feel it's a little different because the first 2 fights weren't like main card. They were just kind of on. I'm assuming even the second.
They were also a lifetime ago.
A lifetime ago, yeah. And so I watched it. I watched the second fight at least, and I don't remember it. I don't remember it at all, basically. So
no, they're both so different, and I think you can sell it. I just think we won't get it immediately.
Both of them are way better.
Way better. I just think we won't get it immediately. But Mike Heck asked a question during the watch party that I don't have an answer to, Casey, because it's a pretty good one. Alejandro Pantoja never been finished. This man, I don't know how he survived some of the shots he ate, the damage Moreno was putting on him in the second, third, fourth round as that fight continued to wear on. Pantoja's busted open, bleeding. Didn't quit, didn't slow down, kept going. Who can beat this dude? Flyweight is a sick division. I love it, but who can beat this man, Casey, at 125 pounds? Can anyone?
Oh yeah, he's just keeping the belt warm for Manal Cop.
That was called teeing you up right there, buddy. I knew.
Yeah, Manal Cop. That's it. But man,
respect to Manel Kopp, who had the most player hater tweet of all time during one of the best fights of the year. Manel Kopp just tweets. I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it in front of me. This is a fun fight for the fans, but it's pretty low on skill level. Just the most player hating dude that has ever walked the 125-pound division in the UFC. Unbelievable from him.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude, I'm just. But the fight actually, I'm super excited about. Eventually, I hope we get Pantoja Royval because my God, those scrambles.
Dude, I mean, well, you say that, but the last time they fought, Pantoja just kind of trounced him. Maybe it won't. They fought like a year and a half ago.
Oh, they did. You're Like, oh
That
yeah,
that was that was
you're
right
right.
after Pantoja beat Manel Kopp, your boy. He
Ah,
RNC's Royval in a fight that he wins. That's the reason I think Albazi has the inside track, because
yeah. You're right.
Pantoja just beat Royval like 2 years ago. So,
I did. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
um, which is
Yeah,
why
maybe.
he's so tough. But Casey, we're still waiting, and we're
Yeah,
waiting
yeah.
for, I assume, this man, and this man not going to be the story of the night, but Dricus du Plessis does something only one other man has ever done in the UFC's middleweight division. He finishes Robert Whittaker, called his own shot, said he was going to finish Whittaker in 2. Whittaker does not get finished, went to war with Yoel Romero. All the other dudes that aren't named Izzy cannot put him down. And Dricus du Plessis, job DDP, supercharged, plants him. We have a new number one contender in the UFC middleweight division. Casey, how are you feeling right now? You doubted. You didn't believe.
We went, Mr. Heck. We were talking. He was like, "What would you be more shocked by, Bo Nickel losing or Robert Whittaker losing?" Like getting trounced. I was like, well, Bo Nickel clearly is the better fighter, but I can see him getting hit with an overhand and getting knocked out because I just don't know how good his chin is. But Robert
And it
Whittaker,
almost happened. Woodburn was swinging heat
he was
for
swinging heat, but
10
hey, Bo
seconds.
Nickel didn't hit him though.
Nope.
But in my mind, I was like, he's. I mean, maybe DDP might win a decision. I think that's what we thought. Maybe, yeah, he might eke out a decision and survive the third round. But DDP was simply the better fighter tonight.
Dude,
That just
shocking,
confuses
right?
me. Just confuses me. Even as I'm watching it happen, and I'm looking at the way DDP moves, and I don't, like nothing. He doesn't make sense, but it freaking works. It does, and hey, man, I already thought he earned his title shot, but obviously,
Absolutely undeniable. There's
oh,
there's no world in which he fights another human being for that's not for the belt.
oh,
Like, undeniable. It's it was the big gamble. We talked plenty about it, and I said this is so dumb. You're wasting a contender. The gamble is, if he does win, it just makes the fight with Izzy enormous. It elevates it to such a level,
see,
and the gamble paid off.
and I thought he could. I thought he could win, but like I thought it was a win. Like maybe like I think you thought, or we talked about earlier about
Yeah.
he might squeak out the first 2 rounds, survive the third, and
hmm
and I thought, okay, cool, you won the
I didn't think
gamble,
he was
but
finishing Bobby Knuckles. I really
no,
did.
not at all, not at all. Like especially the way he finished him. Like it wasn't just got lucky, just threw in a big overhand, hit him,
Just got. I mean, he got him.
he got him,
He just got him.
got him. He won the first round pretty handily and got him in the second. Um, but yeah, I can't believe I'm actually like this. It worked. The gamble worked. I'm actually more excited about this fight with Izzy because I thought the fight was stupid. I thought you could already book it. I was already super excited for it already.
hmm
But now somehow I'm a little bit more, and I didn't think that would happen. So it's always fun when you get these fights like this, and it exceeds your expectations so much. And as a fan, I think that's all you kind of can ask for.
Exactly. Like I caught some. I was calling for DDP basically immediately after the Till win. I was like, let's just do it, and got a lot of pushback saying no, it's not there. Like, and everyone sort of came around as their natural rivalry with Izzy developed, and you're like, okay, that's at least somebody compelling for Izzy. Uh, but this is like coming into this weekend. I did not think DDP had a chance to beat Israel Adesanya. I did pick him to beat Robert Whittaker. Didn't think he had a chance to beat Izzy. I don't know, man. He just knocked out Robert Whittaker, and frankly, in a fashion that wasn't that much unlike Izzy. But let's hear from
Hey
UFC
guys,
President Dana White first.
the attendance tonight was 19,204. We were sold out. The gate was 9.75 million. The performance of the night went to Gomes and du Plessis, and then the fight of the night was Moreno and Pantoja. I know you guys are probably going to ask me about Hooker. He did break his wrist. His wrist was broken in the second round. And Moreno did break his hand in the first round. Who's got the first question? John Morgan. What's happening, buddy?
Not much, man. Daniel, talk about the main event. Alexander Volkanovski I know you just put Jose Aldo in the Hall of Fame, but Volk might be the greatest featherweight of all time. Just what did you think of his performance this evening and kind of where he stands?
Total domination, man. He looked incredible. And I can't remember if it was a big straight right hand or left hand. He took, looked like it shook him a little bit, but he didn't even stop. He kept going, he put on an unbelievable performance tonight. And Yair is so talented, and Volk even at the end there started to strike with him, stayed on the outside of Yair was trying to keep him on the outside and hitting him with big shots, and Volk was willing to stand with him. The guy is an absolute freak. He's incredibly talented.
Yeah. He said he's going to have surgery, so we know he's going to be out for a while. But he keeps talking about he wants to go back to lightweight and get that. When he comes back, do you think he's better off staying at featherweight, or do you have interest in seeing him make that lightweight move again?
I don't know. I mean, let's see how his surgery goes and what happens. And, he's at one of those places now in his career. Whatever he wants to do, what are we going to say? You know what I mean? This guy's literally proven himself a million times. Many people believe he won, the Islam fight. Whatever he wants to do, we'll probably roll with it. Yeah.
I love it. Pantoja, obviously, fight of the night, incredible title fight there. Just what did you think of him tonight? Jonas guts up.
Yeah, we sent both those guys straight to the hospital as soon as that fight was over. Absolute dog fight, incredible war. Nothing but respect for both guys. An amazing fight.
It's a unique position, right? Because a fight that great, a champion losing the belt, close fight, great fight, you might want to do a rematch, but they fought 3 times already.
Right.
So does that kind of eliminate the opportunity, or was that good enough that maybe they could go for it?
It's like the Figueiredo fight. I mean, it's so good. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question right now, but I don't think there's anybody on earth that wouldn't want to see that fight again. It was so good and so close.
Have to ask you about Israel Adesanya coming into the cage tonight. Dricus du Plessis, the big win. I guess the decision to bring him in, not something you do all the time.
Well, there was a big debate over it. I didn't want to do it. First of all, what I don't like to do is when you have somebody like du Plessis who just big win for him. You know what I mean? He just beat the second best guy in the world in that division. And then, somebody's going to get in their face and get aggressive with him again after they just got done getting out of a war. But Adesanya and I had a debate over it, and he promised me that nothing crazy would happen. So we did it.
I know you say, hey, this is the fight business. People say nasty things, right? But the tension between those two and kind of the racial undertones and all those things, how do you...
What were the racial undertones?
Dricus says he's the real African fighter, and so, Israel dropped some N-words in there tonight.
So what was the racial? Who did? Who dropped the racial?
Israel was saying over and over, yeah.
He's black.
50 N-bombs.
Okay, he's black. Who gives a shit?
I was going to say, so you don't have any concern about the way the build-up, the tension between those two?
I could care less. This is the fight business. Israel Adesanya, who gives a shit? Why, are people bitching about that?
Some people.
Of course they are. Oh, fucking A. All right, got it. Yeah. Too fucking bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Last thing for me, then, I just want to say that's a fight that everybody wants to see. Is 9 weeks in Sydney a possibility? We haven't seen Dricus yet, so we don't know what kind of condition he's in. Is that a possibility, or is that too soon?
I don't know. We got to see. I mean, when you come out of a night like tonight, these fights are all tough wars. They were, we'll see how these guys feel. And again, when you come out of a fight like this, like Pantoja and Moreno and du Plessis, and you got to give these guys a couple weeks to go home and relax and, let their bodies heal and spend some time with their families. And it's just things that you just don't talk about right after the fight. Not that we haven't in the past, and you make a fight if a guy had a great night, or Robbie Lawler, if he wanted to fight again. There you go. You know what I mean? But he retired, so.
Dana, to your left.
Yeah. Hey, Kev.
First of all, I want to ask you, it seemed like this was one of the best cards in a long time, top to bottom, where you had a lot of incredible finishes and whatnot. Can you put it, maybe UFC 189 was another one of the cards. Is there any card that leaps to mind that compares to this one in terms of the amount of finishes?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I know we've had some great cards. Tonight was just like that. Everybody knew it was a great card. This whole week, International Fight Week, tons of great stuff going on. And I just think that you couldn't have topped off a great International Fight Week any better than tonight. The energy in the place was off the charts. The fights were incredible. These kids fought their hearts out tonight. The Robbie Lawler story, how it unfolds and how he retires, and yeah, it was the perfect night. It was awesome.
Off the top of your head, again, a question. It's a tough question. You look at Moreno and Pantoja and say that might be fight of the year. It seemed to me, especially through 4 rounds, it was just an incredible fight.
I don't disagree. And one of the things that listen, when you get like, I've been saying this for years, and I've been saying it leading up to this fight, the whole Mexico thing. When you get a Mexican from Mexico and they fight, the fan base is incredible. It's like England. It's like these other countries when they get behind their people. Ireland, whatever country you want to think about. It's fun when you have a real Mexican fighting in a fight. The crowd's incredible. It's electric, and I don't even know what the hell you asked me, but yeah.
Was that fight of the year in your opinion?
Oh yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it was up there. It was a great fight.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Volkanovski. Obviously, you said before he was tremendous and he's good. He seems like he's good in so many areas. Lene told me the other day when she mentioned there was 140 media people. He thought he had 100 more interviews than you, right? And he's the kind of guy that seems like he does good work in every area of his responsibility. I wonder if you could just kind of comment on sort of him as not just the fighter, but as a company man for you guys.
Well, it's that whole team that he comes from. When you look at Israel Adesanya is ready to fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. Him and Pereira had that back and forth for a long time. He didn't care. He wanted to fight him. Volkanovski's willing to fight anybody. When you look at Volk, every guy he fights, reach and the size and reach advantage that everybody has on him. He doesn't care. He's a savage. He gets in there and he handles his business. Hooker tonight breaks his wrist in the second round. I didn't even know. I had no idea. Rogan and those guys must have hurt him in the corner. That whole team is badass.
Yeah, he told Mark Smith, he said, if you raise my hand, if I win, raise it gently because my wrist is hurting. He goes, I think he said he broke his elbow, is what he had told Mark Smith.
Got it.
That's pretty crazy. One last thing, do you think Volkanovski is one of those guys that will be appreciated more when he's gone, right? Because he's not flashy at anything. He's good at everything, but he's not flashy at everything. Where you had Anderson Silva was, like flashy knockouts and everything. Volk seems like he just gets the job done, no matter what the area is. And do you think when he's retired and we're looking back on his career and debating whether it was him or Max Holloway or Jose Aldo as the GOAT of that division, that we'll appreciate him more later than maybe he gets now? I
think that's usually the case with all athletes that are great during their era. I think the same about John Jones. I don't think John Jones is appreciated the way that he should be appreciated, and definitely Volkanovski is one of those guys. But when you look at our business, Australia and New Zealand are a big part of our business as far as pay-per-view goes, and Volkanovski is definitely a big star. So, yeah, I don't know the answer, but yeah.
Dana, over here. Other side.
Yeah.
What went into the thought to give Robbie that tribute video? Because we've had fighters like Shogun and Frank Edgar announce their retirement before their fight, and they didn't get the video.
Well, I don't think we've ever really confirmed that, somebody was retiring or whatever. Robbie and I have had several conversations. He's done. There's no whatever, and so we did it.
Can you think of another, like obviously Amanda just happened, but to Robbie Lawler.
And thank God we made that video because we still had 25 minutes left on ABC. So thank God.
I know Amanda just retired and she put like the belts down and that seemed to be a perfect ending, but can you think of another, like in MMA history, that a lot of people online seem to think this is the best retirement moment we've had in the sport?
Yeah, those are two really good ones. I don't know. And the big question was, after that quick knockout, is he really done? Did you guys talk to him already?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like at 2 o'clock today. He knew he felt great, felt better than he's ever felt. And, he was feeling it today, he told me. So.
Well, according to Connor's Twitter, Robbie Lawler is probably going to fight again by the end of the year.
According to Connor's Twitter,
Connor tweeted that he thinks Robbie's going to fight again by the end of the year.
We've had a lot of conversations leading up to tonight, and then we've talked 3 times tonight.
Yeah.
He won't.
Yeah, Robbie said he's done.
Yeah, he won't.
What did you make of Bo Nickal's performance? Another quick finish.
Yeah, I mean, he's a wrestler. Let's start there. He fought a real kid, 7-0. Took him on short notice without getting to study him and train for him. And this kid's got knockout power. And Bo looked damn good tonight. Every time this kid fights, he looks better and better.
At what point do you just have to start throwing him into these? Because he's had so few fights, but he's putting away these people on that have the same amount of experience of him, but he's putting them away in under a minute. At what point do you just throw him into the top 15?
He fought a kid tonight that was 7-0. What were you throwing a guy with 30-0? I mean, when you look at the way fights are made in boxing, this kid's already, way ahead of the game.
Yeah, he even said that he's surprised at how fast he's gone here.
Yeah. There's no hurry. He's young. He's only got a few fights. But the reality is, too, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but when we brought Cain Velasquez in,
he was like 2-0, 3-0.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe 3 or 4-0. But so who knows?
A couple unrelated to this fight card. Kamaru Usman was in here, and he said he still wants to fight Khamzat at 170 pounds. Have you talked to him at all while he was in town?
No, we have not talked.
What do you do with Islam now? Because Alex said that he might have to have surgery on his arm. Charles did an interview earlier this week at UFC X saying that October might be too soon for him. So looking at that top 15, Gaethje and Poirier obviously fighting in a couple weeks. Who do you give him for Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I'm going to announce Abu Dhabi real soon. No Abu Dhabi stuff because they want to coordinate with us when we do it, but we'll have the announcement on that card soon.
Hey, Dana.
Yeah.
Going back to Robbie, he's the final fighter in the UFC who ever fought for Pride and one of like a couple who fought for Strikeforce. It's an end of an era in that regard. In hindsight, those purchases that you guys did of those two companies, how valuable have they been to the UFC?
Massive. I mean, at the time, when you looked at the number that we paid for Pride at that time, it was a massive number. But if you look at the fights that we've made, the guys that came over from Pride and all the fights that were made, it was one of the greatest deals of all time.
And
other than buying the UFC for $2 million.
Yeah, and we had Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington both here tonight, and they're beating the drum to get that vacant title fight that Amanda left behind. Have you put any thought towards what you're going to do with that 35 belt?
We're working on some stuff right now. Yeah.
And speaking of belts, I spoke to Jorge Masvidal yesterday, and he wanted me to pitch you the idea of he wants to wrap the BMF title around the winner of Poirier and Gaethje. Would you like to do that?
We can do that.
Yeah, not The Rock this time.
Done. Congrats.
All right,
You did it.
Hey, Dana, over here.
Yeah.
So Alexander Pantoja winning the title, awesome performance. He gets it. Brandon Royval was the backup for this fight.
Yeah.
Is he going to fight the winner? Even though
He grabbed me as soon as I walked out of the octagon. He's like, "Let me get in there now. I'm ready. I want this fight. I'll beat both of these guys." So he's fired up and wants that fight.
Is he going to get it though?
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. And then we talked about Dricus, and obviously we got to see how healthy he is. I would assume he's number one to fight Izzy. Would Sean Strickland be number two just with his performance a couple weeks ago? He seems like he's healthy. If he wanted to step in there and fight for the title?
Well, Strickland put himself in a really good position, man. When I did If You Don't Know that week, I was saying to the press, win, lose, or draw, nobody wanted to fight this guy. And Strickland, who's ranked number 7, stepped up to the plate, took this fight, and look at what he did. So, yeah, he gets a lot of credit for taking and winning that fight, and especially winning the fight the way that he did.
Yeah, and last one for me, Canadian got to ask Canada. Any announcements soon for the next date? Vancouver was great. You saw the response there.
I agree.
Toronto, a possibility. A lot of fighters from Toronto in the UFC.
Yeah. Listen, nobody's more excited to get back to Toronto than me, man. I love that city. There's so many things I love about Toronto. So ASAP, we'll be back there as soon as possible.
Dana in the back.
There was a woman. Your voice came out earlier. Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Connor tweeted a little Santa Claus emoji and said he wants to return in December. Is there any update on that possibly happening?
Listen, I'm glad you brought that up. There's a lot of business that needs to be handled before we talk about this. And I was doing an interview on Friday, and a bunch of fucking scumbags wrote stories that I said, fuck USADA. I don't care what USADA says. It's not even remotely close to what I said. So first of all, I'd like to say fuck you to everybody that wrote that story, number one. And number two, there's a lot of stuff that has to go on before he fights. So it's not even, my point was, no matter who's talking about it, whether it's USADA or whoever and this and that, it's not even worth talking about right now. Everybody wants to keep bringing it up so that pieces of shit can write stories like that. Never did I say I don't give a shit what USADA thinks or disrespecting USADA or anything like that. It doesn't matter what anybody says. I don't know how this whole thing's going to play out. Let's wait and see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana back here.
Yeah.
So in 2012, International Fight Week just started, right? 11 years later, when you think about how far this week has come just for this promotion, what are some thoughts and emotions that come to mind?
What's the question?
So International Fight Week started in 2012, right?
Yeah.
So when you reflect 11 years later,
Yeah.
what are some of like the thoughts and emotions that you have? What are some that come to mind?
Well, what's cool is, this was an idea in our meeting room one time, and we thought we would pull together this whole week where martial arts fans could come and celebrate, everything martial arts, everything, combat sports in a week. And here we are 11 years later. This was one of the best we've ever had. The expo was rocking. All the other activities that happened this week were amazing. And it's, I never really thought about it till you just asked me. It's awesome. Thank you. Yep. Yep.
Right over here.
Yep.
How you doing?
Good.
So I just want to go through the emotions that you went through this weekend, especially at the Hall of Fame. Jens Pulver, he was on the first marketing materials when Zuffa purchased UFC, and he was at UFC 33 victory in Vegas, and then Robbie Lawler was the first televised fight in UFC history.
Right.
So,
The 37.5 on Fox Sports. Yeah.
So I just want to go through the range of emotions. These guys helped build the company to what it is today. What's the range of emotions, and how do you plan to include them into the business going forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's why, we've talked a lot leading up to this. We talked a lot tonight, brought him back to my room as soon as the fight was over. He's special. He's a guy that, it's almost like we grew up together in this thing. And I saw him in Hawaii when he was 19 years old fighting, and I love the style. I love the way he fought. So I signed him. And it's like what this guy was talking to me earlier about Bo Nickel. Was Bo Nickel, how is it too soon? Is that was the same question with Robbie Lawler at the time. And here we are. He's almost 42 years old. And he's still here. He's still fighting, and he's retiring tonight. He's a special guy to the company and to me personally.
Awesome. And Val came in on short notice, came in during a pinch. Like, will you continue doing business with Val? Have him on the roster?
Hey, who's that?
Val, guys, at the first that fought.
Oh yeah. What about him? Is he going to stick around? He took the fight on short notice. We'll absolutely give him another fight. Kid came in, and yes. Yeah, I like him too. He's a great kid.
Yeah, and one more question for me. What were the standouts, like for you, watching all the fights from the early prelims all the way up to the top of the card? Who were the standouts to you? And
I mean, everybody stood out tonight. It would be completely unfair if I look at this whole card and think about who stood out. I mean, there were a lot of standouts tonight. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who I'd pick and say, oh, this guy was the guy, or this girl was the girl, which was an awesome fight too. Big upset there. That would stand out. The card was awesome. You couldn't ask for a better card, especially to top off International Fight Week.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Dana?
Yep.
This is one of those cards where a bunch of finishes. Is this going to be one of those cards where you give out a lot of locker room bonuses, those infamous locker room bonuses?
Yeah. I was surprised that none of you said to me, how does Robbie Lawler not get the bonus going on? Don't worry about Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler is going to be just fine. We'll take care of Menifee. I mean, yes. The answer is yes. I don't have to go through the roster, but yes.
I mean, was it a thought to give everybody $50K, just one of those cards where you give everybody a bonus?
The whole card, $50K?
Yeah.
Hey, go work for this guy. This is the guy right here. Yeah.
And then did Dan Hooker and Jalen Turner have the fight of the night before Brandon Moreno?
Yeah, 100%. I actually, like I told you about how everything works in matchmaking, we had that little debate, and I was saying, what about the Turner Hooker fight? And Sean felt like, there was more at stake in the main event, and, two of the best guys in the world, and, Sean won.
Jack Della Maddaleno is in Vegas. He obviously didn't fight tonight. He wants to fight next week in Vegas. Is that a possibility?
I love it. Well, first of all, you know how I feel about that kind of stuff. I love it. We'll see. Yeah, I love it.
And then finally for me, there was a video of John Jones in Vegas. He was at Jorge Masvidal's thing. He was taking shots. Like, does that kind of get you worried?
Listen, he's a grown man. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I always say this, John. More than 12 hours in Vegas is usually probably not a good idea for John. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, John has done very well for himself. He's been through a lot of shit. He's made it through. I don't know whose idea it was to keep John here for days, but Hunter, was that your idea? Well, here we are. I'll plead the fifth on that, sir.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
In the back.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Way back here. Josiah Harrell was supposed to be on this card tonight. We see a lot of what happens on television and during press conferences, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of health and safety protocols. How important is that for this organization, and how do you feel that you go above and beyond what other organizations are doing in terms of making sure those health and safety protocols are in place?
It's everything to us. It's the most important thing in this company, and we. There's been so many kids that we've caught stuff with, leading up to fights or when they first get here and start doing their medicals, the Ultimate Fighter screening that we do on them, the Contender Series screening that we do on those kids. We spend the money to make sure that all these athletes are safe and healthy. It's everything. It's the most important thing in this business. We have a great track record, and hopefully that continues.
Just a quick follow-up. Is there a ballpark amount that you've spent annually on those protocols?
Off the top of your head? How much do we spend on health and safety? Minimum of $10 million a year.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dana,
yes, sir. How are you?
Hi. I'm from Chihuahua, Mexico. I'm a local newspaper, and I have two questions for you.
Yes, sir.
The first question is, do you look the Pantera Rodriguez the same style, or do you see another style right tonight? And this is the first question. And the other question, can you say something for many people to Chihuahua come here driving, many people to see our champion or see Jair Rodriguez. Can you tell something for these people and this official? Because right now I'm a little sick about the loss.
We're going to need a translator for you, sir. Does anybody here speak Spanish? Say that in Spanish. Ask me that question in Spanish.
Okay. La primera, si usted vio el mismo estilo de Jair Rodríguez, como siempre lo ha hecho, o si vio algo diferente en él.
He asked if you saw the same style of Jair Rodriguez tonight, or do you see any changes in the style when you saw the fight tonight against Volkanovski?
Yair?
Yeah.
Well, listen, Yair does what Yair does. He tried to stay on the outside. He tried to pick him apart. Volkanovski walked through it, took him to the ground, roughed him up the first few rounds. After he beat him up, then he said, okay, let's stand up, and he ended up finishing him. I think that Volkanovski not only came up with an incredible game plan, implemented it perfectly.
Okay, la segunda es que mucha gente de Chihuahua vino aquí manejando para ver a Jair Rodríguez. Si usted puede decir algo a ellos, ya que ahorita están un poco tristes porque Jair perdió.
Is there any words of encouragement for the people of Chihuahua? They drove all the way from Chihuahua, Pantera's home state, to Nevada. It's a very long drive, it's about 15 hours. Do you have any words of encouragement for his family and friends that made the drive all the way here, and then they saw this loss?
Yeah, I understand. Listen, I know how passionate Mexican fans are for their, for their athletes. They're one of the biggest supporters in the world of their own people. It's one of the many cool things that I love about Mexico and the Mexican people. Since as far back as I can remember, Mexicans support other Mexicans. It's incredible. They love their country. They support their people. It's fucking awesome, to be honest with you. I love it. And I've been so excited for many years to have a night like tonight where real Mexicans come in and fight and real Mexicans drive up from Mexico to come watch. I'm sorry it didn't turn out the way that you wanted, but we're opening this PI pretty soon, and I think this is just the beginning of many long road trips from Mexico.
Dana.
One question right back here.
Yep.
Want to go back to the Expo. Obviously, the NBA has things like the All-Star Game. NFL has a whole week of events for the Super Bowl. Can you put into words what it's like to know that fans not just have a fight night to come to, but a whole event where they can celebrate their love of mixed martial arts and the UFC brand in general?
Yeah, that was the reason we did it. That's what the whole thing was built around. And again, we have a whole creative department that works on this thing. As soon as this is over, they'll start working on next year. So this is something that's planned out, months to a year in advance. And I think it gets better every year. Today was this week was one of the best that we've ever done.
Ilia Topuria was cage side. I know we're coming off a situation where we just had an interim title for the featherweight strap, but if Volkanovski's having surgery and he wants to come back and challenge for the 155-pound strap, would you consider doing another interim featherweight title?
I don't know. I don't think that Volkanovski's going to be out that long, to be honest with you. I don't think this is a major surgery. It's a scope or something like that. I personally don't know enough about it, but I think it's a scope. I don't think it's anything that serious.
Bo Nickal's only been doing MMA for a little bit over a year. Do you think he's ready to challenge for a top 15 opponent, or maybe he needs a little bit more time, maybe one more away?
There's no need to throw him at a top 15 yet. He's a young guy. He's just getting started. He's just starting to feel himself out. Believe me, when he's ready, we don't even have to have this conversation. We'll all know when he's ready. But there's no rush to get Bo Nickal into the top 15.
Last question, without giving it away. Is it more than likely that Leon Edwards is going to be either fighting at Madison Square Garden or Abu Dhabi defending his title, the welterweight division?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dana, you had Trump there at the cage side with you. What was that experience like, having him right there?
Listen, we all know he's one of my very, very good friends. I love being around him. I had dinner with him last night till midnight. He's fucking awesome. He's hilarious, and I love hanging out with him. And he's such a huge fight fan. So he knows everybody. He knows everything. It's just, I love the guy.
Did he say what his favorite matchup was?
No, he liked the whole card. You want to know how crazy this guy is? He's driving here. He got here at I want to say he got here at 5:40. He watched the earlier fights on his phone. You know what I mean? It's like he loves the fights. And what's really cool about being a fan of this, the way that he is the fighters all love him too. So he had a blast tonight.
What was his reaction when Dricus du Plessis came up to him?
Yeah, no, he was blown away. He was basically talking about, he's like, God damn, this guy's huge. He's big. He's a big, strong guy. And he is. I mean, most of you have met him one-on-one. You ever grab him, touch his arm or whatever, the guy's like this table. He's a beast, man. So, yeah, no. What was the question?
Oh, yeah, you answered it.
Yeah, he was happy to meet him, yeah.
Stipe, what was that like getting that fight done? Was that hard to?
No. Stipe's been ready to go. Yeah, Stipe was ready to go. Talked to him tonight. He's happy. He's in a good spot. He's ready. Madison Square Garden. He's excited. Thanks, brother.
Dane over here.
Yep.
There were a lot of Contender Series graduates tonight on one of the biggest cards of the year. How is it like seeing the success of that series unfold throughout these past couple of years?
If you come into our matchmaking room, okay, so these boards are laid out because I have to see everything on the wall. That's why the room was built the way that it is. And there's red stickers by some of the fighters, and there's blue stickers by the other. The red came from Tough, the blue come from Contender Series. The entire wall now. I mean, when we have a fight, you're talking half the card are guys from the Contender Series. I love the Contender Series. It's one of the best fight shows on television ever, and I can't wait for it to start up again here. I love that show.
Are you looking to take it internationally?
Well, it is internationally.
Or maybe do some Contender Series outside of the U.S.?
Nah, I like driving right across the street.
Fair enough.
Right, Dana?
Yeah.
Ilia Topuria, we didn't see you at UFC Jacksonville. What did you think was his last performance, and how close is he to a title at featherweight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, every Tuesday we talk a lot about him now. And I had never considered or thought about going to Spain. Now I have the team working on Spain.
How close are we to a Spain card?
We're close. It's coming.
Yeah, Dana,
Just here, you
Hi.
talk about Leon and Colby. Leon, of course, is in town. Have you managed to speak to him at all? And would that fight make most sense in MSG?
Somebody just asked me that. It's MSG or Abu Dhabi. One of those. One of the two.
Have you managed to catch up at all with Leon?
We are very dialed in with Leon. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Dana, right in the middle. Talking about Tough, with the Chandler getting the first 6 wins right now, do you think would you have rather have changed up the style of Tough at all during the season?
And why is that?
No, I'm just talking about like with the contenders, like guys that have already been in the UFC, and then do you think you would rather, looking back at it, have like one side beat all of the older guys and then one side beat, or split them up instead?
With the what?
They're 6-0 right now.
No.
Fair enough. Do you have any update on Yuri Prohaska or the 205?
Yeah. Soon. We'll be announcing that soon too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You guys done with me? Have a great night. Thank you.
And that was UFC President Dana White. Covered a lot of ground there, Casey. Just a whole lot. Not sure what the thing is to talk about off of that, because I also suspect we are about to be machine gunning through them. We had a big delay, and none of the fighters have spoken yet. So don't know how many we're getting.
My favorite part of post pressers is when media suggests to Dana, maybe you should give out more money to the fighters, and Dana just laughs. He goes, "Okay."
Makes a great joke. Work for that guy. My favorite is when the post pressers are there's that section of talking about Dana's feelings. My real favorite is this guy, Dricus du Plessis. Let's listen to the new #1 contender at 185 pounds and an airplane, apparently.
I assume the biggest win of your career to date. Very impressive performance. How do you feel about the way things went tonight?
Oh, absolutely amazing. Definitely the biggest win of my career. Leading up to this, I knew this was the biggest fight of my career. It's Robert Whittaker. Man hasn't lost to anybody else than the champion almost a decade. But I said it. This is not going to see the third round. TKO in the second happened that way because, I just know my fighting style. And I guess this answers all the nose questions.
You were very respectful of him coming into this fight. You knew how great he was. He did have some success early on, and then you seized momentum, towards the end of round 1. I guess, how did things play out? Was anything surprising to you in there?
No, not at all. Especially in the beginning of the fight. I said it. I can't go and fight Robert Whittaker like I fought a Brad Tavares. He is too good and too calculated. I needed to figure out his timing, and I think the game plan, my coach, when I first, he is obviously a guru at this. He is the man who put this all together, coming out and fighting southpaw against a guy like Whittaker. I always do switch stance, but to go and learn a complete new style for this guy, and it just worked perfectly. But, in that first half of the first round, I was almost checking to see, okay, how fast is he? How hard does he hit? And he hits hard and he hits fast. But it was just getting that timing, seeing, okay. But it was still going forward and putting pressure on. That was the plan, and that's what I executed. Much easier said than done when you're fighting and standing in front of Robert Whittaker throwing these big shots. But at the end of the day, I progressed and I made the pressure forward. And I could see in his eyes when he realized this guy's not slowing down and this guy's not going away.
So amazing victory, and they leave no doubt that you're getting the title shot next. Bring Israel Adesanya into the cage. I guess, what did you make of that, of him being brought in and you guys having that face-off? What did you make of the whole situation?
Yeah, the only thing I made of that was it's usually the contender that goes into the cage, right? So, I mean, even he sees me as the champion already. So he better knows I'm the champion. And now that he's seen me in that cage, he knows what a force I am in there. He could feel the energy, and I could feel how insignificant he is to me when we get into that cage.
Last thing for me, Dana was here earlier. He said he's not going to bother you about when you can fight, give you a little time, but everybody knows we're looking for a main event in Sydney. Is 9 weeks even a possibility, or is that unrealistic to ask you to be ready for a title fight in that kind of time?
What I say is Dana White obviously knows fighters, and he has the respect to know that tonight's all about celebrating myself and obviously celebrating the legend of Robert Whittaker.
Dricus right here. It seemed like coming into this fight, a lot of people are counting you out, not giving you your respect, and it seemed like Robert Whittaker was maybe the person who was giving you the most respect in terms of what you're capable of. Do you think now the people appreciate what you're able to do in there and give you your recognition?
I mean, yeah, Robert Whittaker, like I said, smart guy and a true warrior, a true martial artist who knows that martial arts, you are as good as your opponent makes you look. And him being the warrior that he is, he came out here tonight prepared like always, and he was in great shape. But he could see what a lot of people fail to see, and that is a style that people are used to. People are used to certain styles. They don't know our style. They don't know how we put this whole thing together. And he saw that, and that's why he said, I'm the most dangerous opponent he's ever faced. That's why he said, one mistake he made is he thought, I don't have anything to lose. And I didn't fight like somebody who doesn't have anything to lose. I fought like somebody who has everything to lose. And every time I step in there, I have my life to lose. And I will protect that with everything. I have my family name, the Du Plessis name to protect when I step in there. I have the South African flag to protect when I step in there. I have Team CIT behind me that I represent when I step in there. I have absolutely everything to lose when I step in there. And I hope everybody saw that tonight.
And whether you fight Izzy in Sydney or at a later date, it seems like, given the things that have been said in the past, what was said in the cage, this could be a very kind of divisive and controversial build-up a little bit. How are you preparing yourself for that? Are you wanting to step away from it? What do you think the build is going to be like?
I mean, you saw tonight, I'm prepared. I'm prepared for everything. Everything he says, anything he's behaving like a clown in there. That's not how a champion behaves. That's not how a man behaves. He's behaving like a child. Conduct yourself like a champion. There's people looking up to you and you're behaving like that? Nah. If that sells tickets, good for him. I'll sell tickets my way. I'm a gentleman. I'm a man. And I'll behave like a man.
When you do get in the octagon with him, how do you think this fight goes? How do you beat him?
I'll knock him out just like I did tonight. If not, we saw his fight with Alex Pereira. If I get him to the floor, it is not even a fight. It's not even a fight. If I just get my hands on him, it's not even a fight. I will manhandle him. I've done it before and I'll do it again. And, as far as the striking goes, let's take that out of the question. You are as good as your last performance. What did his last performance look like against Whittaker? Yeah, he beat him. It was a close fight. What did my last performance against Whittaker look like? So right now, that's how I plan on beating him, the same way I beat Whittaker tonight, by implementing the game plan and sticking to my style and doing what we do best. Listening to my coaches, listening to the great Mornay Visser, the great teammates I have at CIT, a small gym in South Africa, coming up with game plans with this awkward style, this style that looks completely wrong to so many people. I'm the #1 contender in the world right now, so it's time to put some respect on that.
Dricus over here. Congrats on the win. Very impressive performance.
Thanks,
you obviously had the surgery as well, sort of leading into this. How much different did you feel in there? Because you looked really awesome just from the get-go.
Oh, thank you. I felt incredible. I didn't want to speak on the fact too much before the fight because, that's a kind of pressure that is a little bit out of somebody's control, I feel, to handle, because I could look at my fights previously and I know, I'm like, yeah, my opponents are tired too. Look, they are tired too, but I look at the fights and I'm like, for the amount of work, and I know for the amount of work that I'm putting in, I'm not supposed to be this tired. I'm not supposed to be this tired, and this made such a difference. I felt incredible out there tonight. I didn't feel a little bit tired. I felt great. And the pace wasn't low. It was a great pace, and I could see my opponent slowing down when I was just starting to get going. I could see in his eyes, in his body language, everything that I needed to, and I felt invincible in there, and it felt great. It made all the difference in the world.
And Cameron Simon winning earlier on the card, I know it was the case on the last event as well. How much does that help you going into the fight? Just like, it's like a team mentality sort of going on this card with him winning impressively. How much did that give you like a little bit of a boost going into that fight?
Absolutely, and of course the mighty Springboks beating the Aussies, the Wallabies in the rugby. It was 47-12. What an obliteration! And that was the first inspiration I got. That was the first little boost I got. My countrymen can do it, I can do it. And then obviously Cameron coming in and putting up a masterful performance, because this guy is a future champion. It doesn't take a genius to see that. And I'm so proud of him, and we are incredibly proud to represent the flag, the South African flag, and come over here and put up these performances once again as a duo and as a team. And it made the absolute world.
And last one for me, just kind of looking ahead a little bit here. If they do end up making you and Izzy, do you think Sean Strickland would be a rightful backup in that situation if something happened?
Yeah, maybe.
Dricus right over here. Back. Congratulations on the victory. To touch on it once again, obviously Robert Whittaker is a guy who's been at a very high level for a long time. What are some of the openings that you saw in the cage that you could explain for us when we watched that tape back of this performance?
Like I said before, there's not a lot of openings to see real quick, with Rob. But one thing was, I was big against Rob tonight. I could feel it when we were in the grappling exchange, in the wrestling exchange. I was strong. I could feel I was a lot stronger than him physically. But he's fast, and his footwork is so good. Like, he makes you miss all the time. And until I figured that out, he just has a very... his movements are the same constantly. And I brought in a lot of karate guys for this camp. We did. And it worked so well because I figured out that movement. I figured out but he does it so well. What he does really good is he's in the pocket, and as soon as you go for him, he's out of the pocket. He just moves backwards, but laterally and he doesn't move side to side. He just moves backwards and forwards, and he does it really quick. So, it took me, that's the first half of the fight, the first half of the first round, it took me to figure that out. But then I saw, cool, his hands are low, but he's not blocking a body kick, and I started landing. And I realized his left hook was really hard, but it wasn't the signature 1-2 head kick that he does so well. I was super prepared for that. He threw 2 of them, and it wasn't as strong as I thought, to be honest. It wasn't, I don't know if it didn't land flush, but, I blocked both, and I felt a lot more comfortable moving to the open side. But at the end of the day, it was about being patient and being composed, which I felt I did a lot better tonight than ever before.
Dricus?
When you talk about your career, you've had in the UFC, you've been part of some really big events, and slowly, keep moving up the ranks, moving up the card and everything. And now with this biggest victory in your career, how do you even put into words that whole journey? Because you've been on big events, but it feels like you really took center stage tonight.
Well, thank you. When you're fighting a future Hall of Famer, and a guy, if you're in the pound-for-pound rankings and not even having a belt, that has to say something. And like Whittaker tonight was the fan favorite, and he was the betting favorite by far, and rightfully so. I stick by that. And I said it before this fight. This is where I take that torch. This is where I become the favorite. This is where I become the guy who doesn't lose. And it was a massive honor to share the cage with him tonight, and to do myself, my family, my team, and my people proud, and go out here and the UFC. They Dana, Hunter, Mick, all these guys that are giving us this opportunity. It's amazing. It's they made this fight, and a lot of people were criticizing them for making this fight. They just said, this is a dumb fight to make the easy fight. And this is the fight we wanted to have. This is the fight when they asked us if we would take this fight, I was excited because I knew this is what's going to happen tonight. I knew we were going to steal the show, and we did. Because you have 2 incredible warriors going out there and leaving everything on the line in the end. It was amazing.
Cameron finally got a victory, no fouls. Can we finally get him to talk golf?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll see. Let's go have some beers first.
Dricus, Is it safe to say fixed nose Dracus is a mythical fighter now?
Hated that question leading up to the fight. Absolutely love it now, and yes.
Dricus back here. So it's been nearly 5 years since you've lost a fight. Confidence-wise, where are you at, and how does that feel knowing that it's been that long since you've suffered a defeat?
You know, it's interesting. I don't think about losing, and I haven't looked at that. This now that you've mentioned it, it's the first time. Looking back at my losses, they've all been extremely good to me. Every loss that, the 2 losses that I've had, one of them I was extremely young, and I didn't deserve to win that fight. And the last loss I had at welterweight 170, wasn't for that loss I would have been in the UFC right now as a 170 fighter where I don't belong. And that was one of the best things to ever happen to me. So, I feel as a fighter you have to some stage in your career feel loss, feel what it feels like to lose, to really appreciate that win. And now I felt it. No need to feel any more losses now.
All good.
Thank you, everybody.
We're just going to go ahead and say it, Casey. It's the best middleweight in the world right there. Dricus du Plessis coming off a second-round finish of Robert Whittaker, looking like $1 million in the suit, just carrying himself. I want to say this before I forget it because it probably won't come up on the post show. I picked him to win. I truly started to believe during the walkout. I have never seen a man happier to be there. Like, he looked thrilled the whole time. Like, he knew something, and turns out he did. And talk your talk, you walk the walk, baby. I mean, we've got a contender.
We had a contender, and now it's just even bigger. Even bigger.
I gotta say, Izzy, what a career turnaround this is for Izzy. We're talking like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, Izzy is getting raked over the coals for his Anderson Silva stretch of being boring and he's too safe. And then we fast track Alex Pereira in. Yes, Pereira beats him, but he comes back. He gets one of the best KOs of the year, that incredible moment earlier this year. And now he gets this. He could have been fighting Robert Whittaker for a third time. And instead, he gets a guy he hates. Like, he has real animosity towards in a really big fight, whether that's later this year, whether it's next year, whenever it does happen. It's a monster fight. This is big. I think this is big for Izzy, except for the part where DDP is going to beat him, because apparently nose job DDP, best fighter in the world, baby.
C-Level Kane, motivated BJ Penn, nose job DDP.
I mean, he can breathe. He can so much more oxygen.
He did all this without air, and now he has air.
Yeah, like, imagine holding your breath and trying to fist fight somebody. It's really bad. It's very, very difficult.
It's difficult. Yeah, I understand how he had no.
Think about it. It's like the first thing they tell you when you're training. It's like, just breathe. You don't want to stop your breathing when you're getting in. And he just wasn't breathing, and now he is. And now run and hide the rest of the division. It is. I'm so excited.
They're gonna rip out Anderson Silva's plaque from the Hall of Fame and just put future spot for DDP right there. That's how
He's going to be the first African UFC champion. What an incredible accomplishment that will be for him.
Check his postal code. Just check the postal code.
I mean, look, that's a really dumb line. I'm not sure if Izzy's check his 23andMe might be worse. Like,
hey, man,
we can do 23andMe.
We've moved on Frozen Like Elsa. Now we're doing 23andMe.
Yeah. So. For a guy who everyone was so convinced had the gift of gab, and I'm not saying he isn't charismatic, Izzy has some awful quotes out there, man.
They are fantastic quotes. What are you talking about?
I mean, they are like a step up from Prime Tito. Like, just horrible stuff. So that's DDP. I
Tito
believe
walked so Izzy could run. That's how.
I believe we have confirmed that Alejandro Pantoja and Brandon Moreno are both being transported to the hospital. So there will not be either fighter from there, which makes
That was
sense.
interesting. Broken hand by Moreno apparently early in the fight too, throwing all those big bombs, all those big left hooks. So
I mean, he's landing big shots. So
Yeah, that's good.
could that have? I don't know if that made the difference. I'm sure it didn't help him, but we saw Dan Hooker win with a broken wrist, so it can be done. And I don't know that the broken hand made a difference to.
Yeah,
I gotta pull this up right now, actually, because the takedown stats for Pantoja have to be unbelievable. I don't know if Moreno stuffed one. They gave him credit for defending 5 of 11 takedowns, giving up 6. I am not sure that that's accurate.
the way Pantoja just crawls up your back and I was looking, it's like there's just like no space. It was just like he just
He had some of the most, and that's a huge part of his game. He had some of the slickest. He at one point almost did like a cartwheel back take as Moreno was sitting up on an underhook and missed it by like that much. He had some of the nastiest back takes. Every time Moreno would get against the cage and break hands and try and turn and spin out, Pantoja would just beat him around the corner and then turn that into a trip roll and stick. He had all the answers for getting into that position.
That's what I mean. I can't wait to rewatch that fight because it was like I said, I kind of got caught up in it as a fan. It was just watching
it's
it.
fun as hell.
Yeah, and it's like, oh wait, I'm not like scoring it. That's how I was just like out of it. When I was just that's why I really want to rewatch it because it was all kind of a blur, to be honest. I was super excited to fight. I went in thinking, actually, before the fights, I kind of compared this fight what I thought it was going to be like the Lawler versus Rory McDonald fight, which was a co-main event on maybe the best pay-per-view since 189, because the main event was Conor and Mendez, and the co-main event was completely forgotten. Rory versus Lawler. It was kind of like, okay, that was a cool fight, but it wasn't the main attraction, clearly. And that fight delivered, and this fight was just.
And then that became one of the 5 greatest fights of all time.
Yeah, and this fight might be. Fight of the year, it's gonna be the top 5, whatever.
It's definitely gonna be top 5. It won't be my fight of the year, but it's definitely a top 5 fight.
And
we're zooming out, which makes me think we may be about to get Alexander Volkanovski. I believe that's the only person we are waiting for because Yair Rodriguez, I'm fairly certain, has been transported to the hospital as well. So I think closing it down will be your featherweight champion Volk.
Pound for pound champ.
Was he already your pound for pound number 1? I think you had left him.
Yeah, I had him number 1. Yeah,
he is my number 3. As a voting.
I see you have number 1 for this
my
month.
number 1. I will not be taking any notes. I am absolutely certain that my number 1 is correct, and I'm going to leave him right there. And no one can change. No one can stop me. I'll do whatever I want. Okay, let's talk about some of the undercard stuff. Just because it feels like we've talked about most of the big things. Actually, no, we haven't really talked about Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner. Let's talk about Dan Hooker. What an incredible performance from this guy. A guy who, I'll be honest, I kind of wrote off. And you look back and you could make the argument people did that, hey, he's only been losing to the top guys. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Islam Makhachev, like top guys. But I just sort of thought that this was it. One, always been very high on Jalen Turner, and Dan Hooker just kind of seemed like he was doing that thing. Got tattoos and had changed his hair color. He was doing, to me, it looked like, well, Kevin Lee did a bunch of cool stuff to try and catch the energy again, and we saw how that went. And he's facing a guy in Jalen Turner who I think is incredible. And Jalen Turner, at many moments, looked to be well on his way to winning that fight for about the first 8-9 minutes. And then Dan Hooker just said no, just sort of refused to die, ate a clean head kick and kept fighting through it, which I was shocked by, and just turned it into a dogfight. And Jalen Turner wilted. I don't know,
I hate
if the weight cut had something to do with it, but man, Hooker looked the best he has looked since losing to Dustin Poirier. That was the best fight Dan Hooker's had in a long, long time. And an incredible performance. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I hate the term "who wants it more," but man, it applied to this fight. Dan Hooker is not the better fighter. Jalen Turner is the better fighter, not only by far, but Jalen Turner is a better fighter. Dan Hooker won the fight tonight because God, I hate saying it. He simply wanted it more. And
dude, sometimes it is true. Sometimes you just see dudes out there wanting it more. Like, I'm not here to tell you Robbie Lawler was a better fighter than Rory McDonald. Robbie wanted that fight more than Rory did. Turned it into a test of wills and won it and broke him. And that's like, I'm absolutely with you. Like, Jalen Turner was repeatedly dinging Dan Hooker hard and hurting him. And Hooker would briefly be like, oh, I'm hurt. F that, and just got right back in his kitchen. Like, it was incredible.
The first 7 minutes of that fight, you're just waiting for Dan Hooker to get knocked out. You're just kind of waiting for, okay, now he's gonna get knocked out. Okay, now he's gonna get knocked out. And then I want to rewatch the fight again, but like around halfway through the second, what was it? It was after the head kick too. Was that all in the second round?
It was in the second round. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Okay, round of the year, second
clean
round,
head
by the way.
kick, clean head kick, and just said no. Just said, I'm not getting knocked out today. No, thank you.
The only thing that saved Dan Hooker right there is he got hit with mostly the foot. I mean, the foot was enough to knock you out.
He didn't catch shin.
Yeah, if it was a couple inches higher, he would have got shin and he would have been out. But that's the sport, 2 inches, whatever.
Yeah,
it was just enough to rock him, but not take him out. And Dan Hooker is a tough SOB. He just is. And I think we forget. I think, we always knew he was tough, but I didn't know he was tough and could still come back and win. If that makes sense. I thought he's okay. He can take a beating, but he'll survive to the end. Maybe that was the Edson Barboza fight where he just took like 10,000 body shots or whatever, and finally wilted in the third or whatever. I thought we were going that same route tonight. I thought he was just gonna get demolished by Turner, and eventually he would get knocked out. It didn't happen. I have to assume the really bad weight cut hurt Turner, and especially in the later rounds. And but credit Dan Hooker, he did it. I don't know. What does this say for you about Jalen Turner, though?
It's a really good question. I'm not sure because I've been super, super high on Jalen Turner, and a lot of it is his tools, right? He is so big. He has such a great physicality. He has a real dangerous set of skills, not just on the feet. I mean, if you get him on the ground, he has those long arms. He's going to look for chokes. And we saw him show a complete game against Hooker in this loss, right? Like he got a takedown, got top position. He looked great on the feet, and he's coming off a really competitive fight with Mateusz Gamrot, who's one of the top 7 guys in the world. Like, I don't know. I come out of this. I am really interested to see both of these guys' fights because I want to see what Turner looks like coming back off this loss. A very different loss than the Gamrot loss. Like, he got beat very clearly. He gave up to some extent. He didn't give up. It was taken from him down the stretch. Still got a split decision because he's good at that now. But I want to see how he rebounds because maybe he's just destined to be a fun action guy who's really good, but maybe he never really cracks beyond the fringe top 10 of the sport. We see a lot of those guys, Vicente Luque-esque sort of guy, a guy who has the tools, but probably just can't really put it together in some way because of one failing or another. Maybe this is just the fight that says, hey, man, lightweight's too tough for you. You have the physicality to compete at welterweight, put on a little bit of muscle, but you got to move up. So I'm really excited to see. And this might be negative dancing, right? I am fascinated about Dan Hooker's next fight because I can't say why. Tremendous win. I want to take 0 things away from him. The way he fought, how he won, and hearing him talk at the end of that, functionally spent. Like, he is like, yeah, man, my arm's a scratch. But he didn't have, like, he was not Dan Hooker in the way that, like, he had a lot to offer, which is understandable. I really want to see if this is like a Robbie Lawler, Carlos Condit fight where Hooker wanted it so bad that the rest of his career is kind of jacked from it because it feels really possible. Like, it's hard for me to imagine anybody going through that and coming out fine. Still a young dude, maybe not, but Robbie and Condit weren't old when they died, essentially, at the hands of each other in the cage. And I could absolutely see that being the case from just the texture of that fight and his reaction. So of all the fights, that's the one where I am maybe the most interested to see what both parties do next.
Dan Hooker's 34. He's had 35.
30. I thought he was younger.
Yeah, he's 33, and has had 35 professional fights with lots of big weight cuts, man. Lots of training camps, lots of wars. Yeah. Hey, man, but
I hope it's not, because I would love this version of Dan Hooker to stick around and have great fights with other top dudes in the division. It's very, very possible that is his Carlos Condit line. That's just, and look, Carlos Condit had a mini resurgence, was able to kind of put things together, just never competed, and maybe that's what happens for Dan. Maybe I'm just being a negative Nancy for some reason, and Dan's fine and going to come out and look. I mean, Dan Hooker is now going to be fighting Grant Dawson. That will be the fight that happens off of this. It's just the one that makes the most sense. And at least with Grant Dawson, we can be sure he's not going to take a bunch of punches, right? Like if that fight goes down, he's either going to be doing it or he's going to be fending for his life on the ground. We will see. So,
but are you still on the Jalen Turner bandwagon hype train? Or is this
maybe I'm going to check a little bit. So I still think he's going to be a top 15 guy. Like but I did feel that he was probably likely to move to welterweight at some point, just being young and being so big. I have no idea how I feel about him as a welterweight. I want to see him up in the weight class first. But maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just be like, I just had a bad weight cut for X, Y, or Z. I'm going to stick it around. And if so, still think he's a top 12 lightweight. I mean, again, went hammer and tongs with Grant Dawson, who I think, or not Grant Dawson, Mateusz Gamrot, who I think incredibly highly of. This was only a split. Like, he didn't get finished, actually, despite really looking in trouble at various points in time. So
I'm assuming the second round, I guess one judge gave the second round to Turner.
Incorrect, actually. Judge Adelaide Bird gave round 3 to Jalen Turner.
Oh, all right.
Surprising. Very, very surprising. But yeah, I this loss makes me think Jalen Turner. If you had asked me at the beginning of this year, does Jalen Turner fight for a title? I say yes. I don't know if he wins one, but I think he will absolutely get an opportunity to fight for the UFC Lightweight Championship. Been a tough year for him. And I think that he can still hang around the top 10 if he stays at 155, but I suspect it's unlikely he fights for a title. They're not impossible, certainly.
Right. Great fight.
Great fight. Do we have anything to say about Bo Nickel other than, damn, look at that guy?
The man can hit you. He can hit you. He can take you down. He can choke you out. He can snap your arm back. It's man, I put this out there. I mean, obviously with DDP winning tonight, it kind of squashed that. But I know it sounds crazy, but like if I'm Izzy or if I'm a high ranked, even if I'm Sean Strickland, if I want to fight Bo Nickel now, right now. I do not want to fight him tomorrow. I want to fight him right now, and because you're gonna fight him eventually if you're a higher ranked fighter. Fight him now.
Izzy might not. Izzy probably is gone from the weight class by the time he would have to fight Bo Nickel. Sean Strickland is gonna have to fight Bo Nickel though.
But you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like if I'm a high ranked guy, Bo Nickel is a bigger name than basically everyone outside of Izzy.
Dude, if I'm Chris Curtis, I'm absolutely trying to fight Bo Nickel.
And if you lose, fine, you lost to the next GSP or whoever you want, no big deal. But face him now. That's all.
To his credit, hasn't Brendan Allen been repeatedly calling to fight Bo Nickel?
I'm pretty sure some guys have.
I feel like Brendan Allen has been doing
that. He was like, yeah. So it's not like Bo Nickel's like, well, give me the 49th ranked guy now. I don't want to go too high. He's like, send me to the top. So that's all.
He didn't say that in his post fight because he was very like, I just want to go hunt elk. So whatever, whoever and hey, that's what you're doing. I don't think we need to rush him, but Though Dana dismissed it in the presser just now when he was asked about Bo Nickel. Was like, this guy boxing, he's way ahead of where he'd be in boxing. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not, whatever. I think kind of the other thing that he sort of referenced, either at least in passing, he threw out Cain Velasquez and sort of what happened with Cain. Cain entered the UFC at 2-0, so it's actually a pretty good comparison point right there. And I'm pulling up Cain right now. 1, 2, 3. Cain had 3, I'm going to call them nothing fights against Brad Morris, Jake O'Brien, Denis Stojnik, before he faced Czech Congo in his 4th fight. That would be the first kind of clear step up in competition. Wins that, fights Ben Rothwell, because once you beat Czech Congo, at the time you would have been around the top 15, top 10.
Yeah.
Then you're just in it. And so he had 3 sort of, get the feet wet, get moving after a 2-0 professional career before then. And right now with Bo Nickel, he entered the UFC at 3-0. He has 2 wins. So I think I'm assuming they're going to give him almost a direct copy of Cain Velasquez's playbook here. Is he will get one more tune-up fight to kind of grow and gain experience, and then it's going to be Chris Curtis, Brendan Allen. It's going to be somebody in the top 15 or around it. And once he gets going there, then we're going to rock it, see what happens. So I think it's fine not to do the next one, but I agree with you. Sean Strickland's going to have to fight this dude one day, and if he fights him now, he can maybe win. If he fights him in 2.5 years, Sean Strickland is going to get rinsed. So try and fight him now, Sean. If you're not going to get the next title fight, which you still could, try and fight Bo Nickel. That's the best you can hope for.
Looking at Bo Nickel's his Tapology page, and all the green and all the round one. I know it's completely different, but man, he has this kind of I know it's gonna. When I throw it out there, people go, "What the heck?" But the Ronda Rousey type of dominance right now.
Oh no,
coming up, and we don't know. And this is why I said if Val wins, it'll be obviously a big upset, but I wouldn't be completely shocked because we just don't know if Bo can take a shot. We don't know if Bo can handle adversity. But right now, it's incredible.
He hadn't had any adversity. 4 of his fights have lasted less than 1 minute and 3 seconds.
It looks very much like Ronda Rousey's early record.
And it looks like we're going to have featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, the belt coming up. The champ is here. Let's listen in to the champ.
Congratulations. Obviously, a very dominant win tonight against a guy that you yourself said was very, very dangerous. So how satisfied are you with the way things went tonight?
Yeah, very satisfied. It's always good to get the win. That's all that really matters to me is getting that win and getting that paycheck for the family and rolling that legacy on. You know what I mean? Because he was dangerous. There was probably the most feared I've ever been in a fight, maybe. Like him and maybe Max. This was because I always say no one can beat me. No one can actually beat me. I don't believe anyone can beat me. But everyone has a puncher's chance. Everyone can catch you. And there's no one that's more dangerous and got a better chance of doing that than Yair Rodriguez. So there was, obviously going into the game plan, I showed him that respect. Mentally, I prepared as telling myself this. So it made me turn up in the gym every single day. It made me get the right training partners. It made me, try and work out a good game plan. Systematically break him down. Take away a lot of his main tools, and I think we did a great job. He still was always going to be able to throw things because he's that creative. So that's why he was always going to be dangerous. But I was able to nullify a lot of his main tools, things that he would usually be able to do frequently. He couldn't do that with me, and then I was able to capitalize on that.
What was it like round by round? Because you did take over pretty early, right? But at the start of each round, he's back on the feet and he's throwing strikes, and that danger's there again. So was that, kind of a difficult mental thing to get?
Yeah. Like that was always going to be there. But I mean, being prepared for him, ready for him, and there might have been one exchange where things landed a lot harder. I can't remember. Was that second round maybe? Like something landed. I'm like, yeah, nice. There we go. A lot of the other things he would kick and I'd roll with it and see it coming. And again, having the right training partners to give me them looks was incredible. But yeah, there was one that maybe done something, the punches landed. I was like, oh yeah, they got in. I was fine, but he did a good job there. But other than that, I was all right. Even though he was flicking stuff out and maybe, landing on hands and, maybe touching the top of the head and things like that, I was still pretty comfortable in there and still seeing it all coming. So I just had to pick the right moments. Because again, like you go in a little too aggressive without the right setup, it could be good night. So he's the type of guy that you need to be careful. You need to be smart. You know what I mean? You need to be thinking in there. You need to be doing the right things, and we did the right things.
You revealed afterwards that you're going to need some surgery, need a little time off. I guess. How serious is that? How long do you expect to be out?
I mean, I didn't mean to scare everyone with that. Like when I say I'm going to do it, like yeah, it's not a big deal. I'll be back in ASAP. Like it will be a quick one. Just need to get something sorted. But I'll be training. I broke my hand last International Fight Week, and you see me at Abu Dhabi ready to fight Islam or Charles Oliveira. That was a broken bone. This ain't a broken bone. We'll be right. I'll be you don't need to stress about that. I'll be training. I'm professional. I want to be active. Again, I'll be back in there before most of the other guys, the other champions anyway. So don't worry about that.
Nice. Last thing for me, Daniel was here earlier, and we kind of asked him what he'd like to see for because you keep mentioning lightweight, but obviously Ilya was here tonight. And he said basically you've proven everything. Whatever you want to do, he'll kind of go with it. So what is most important to you? You keep saying that lightweight, but
we all know I want that lightweight belt. We all know I want that rematch. I want that Islam fight. I think not only for me to get that belt, for me to get that win back, but I think it is a massive fight for the UFC as well. I think it's a fight everyone wants to see. It was literally that type of fight. It was that close. It was a cracking fight. Everyone enjoyed it, and it was a very, very high level. There was 1 and 2 going at it, and we showed out. It really was that. He lived up to the hype. I lived up to the hype, and that fight lived up to the hype. We just need to see 5 to 10.
Alex, to your left. In boxing and MMA, historically, most people's time at the top has been very short. You're at the top now 3.5 years. It looks like you cleaned out the division, don't have a lot of challengers. Why do you think it is that most people can't last as long? And what is it that makes you special that you remain on top after such a long period of time?
How will I stay on top? Or what?
How are you staying on top? What's different in you than it is with other guys who are physically talented?
Yeah, well, I think it's just that, the passion for the sport, and the mindset. Like finding, for me, it's pretty easy. It's not hard for me to find a way to be motivated. Well, no, I don't need to be motivated. It's discipline. You know what I mean? People talk about, people want to listen to music. People want to do all this fancy shit to get motivated. I don't need that. I've got discipline. I'm going to turn up anyway. But I'm passionate about what I do. I always find a way. I always switch some things in there to get me hyped up. Especially for this one. I told myself, this guy's dangerous. Whether I literally made it as if, man, this bloke's going to maybe knock you out. You know what I mean? Like I literally, whether I did that so I would turn up in the gym, whether I'm that clever with that shit, I don't know. But I mean, it was like that. It literally was. I was like sitting there, oh yeah, shit, all right, let's get to work. No mucking about. Take this serious. And I did, 100%. And that's why you see me get better. But I mean, I said it all week. Like I'm in these sessions, doing training sessions, and I'm passionate. Like you got to see me in there. Like we're breaking down techniques, and I could talk about it for hours. I got Joe yelling. He's like, "Get out, man! I've got to lock up the doors." Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, because I'm just talking about details, and I get right into it. That's how passionate I am about it. Now, there's not many people at the top that've been at the top for 3.5 years, as you said, that are more passionate than a few years ago. I guarantee I'm more passionate now than I was before. I love this game. I'm proud of where I am, and I'm proud of what I do, and I'm very happy I do this, and I'm privileged. This is a privilege to do something that I love and make money from it.
So on the other side of that, then when you look at it, a lot of guys come in here and they say, hey, I want to get to my after party or whatever, and they have another thing to keep them relaxed and not, do you worry about burnout because you're going so hard for so long that like after a while you get sick of it, like you lose your passion for it because you're pushing so hard?
No, I wouldn't say I get sick of it. I mean, it's hard work. I'll be lying to you. Like doing this, it is hard work. As I said, I need to think a few things like being in pain 24/7. It's it's hard work. I'm not trying to feel sorry for myself, but it's sometimes you might need a little bit. You might need a little bit of time off, and I don't want time off. Like I said, give me a week. That's all good. Get the surgery. I'll be back in the gym. I can focus on a couple of things and chill with my family, and then back to work. But I mean, Yeah, it's hard work. I don't know how to answer that question properly, but I mean, I still love this. But I mean, I'm not getting any younger. The body's feeling it, but that's why I'm in my prime, and I want to take advantage of it. That's why, even though I'm going to get surgery, even though I'm going to be injured, I need to get back in there because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay on top. I go, yeah, I'm passionate. Yeah, I'm experienced. I'm in my peak. How long is that going to last? So let's get to work. Let's get two of these bad boys.
Yeah, my last question for you, Alex, would be, a lot of people are great physical athletes and they do it. And it seems to me like, obviously, you talked about your preparation, but it seems like maybe you're smarter than a lot of other guys in terms of understanding the game and understanding not only what it takes to win in the cage, but sort of what it takes to get your body through a long training camp. Would you agree with that? And do you feel like the fact that maybe your wisdom for this sport and your understanding of the sport is underrated?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to do with that in many ways. You might have physios and doctors that'll tell you different. Then, here I am telling you, yeah, I do this, and I'm very smart with the way I think, but they're probably looking at me like, oh no, you literally run your body through the ground every freaking day. I'm sick of fucking treating you. But that's just how I am. But I mean, I still think we do the right stuff. I'm getting through these camps. Again, I just got a couple little things to fix up, and I'm back in there kicking ass again.
Alex, over here. So, after the Islam fight, a little bit of the narrative, I think even you said a little bit, is you were kind of drawing attention to when he would land punches, like you would kind of smile and point at him. You did that a bit against Yair too.
I still did that, did I?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, is that something you have to work on and can't
I think so, because there was times there was one when he did it, like he ended up landing it. That landed bigger, like it didn't rock me, but I was like, nice. Like he ended up following up. But I mean, there's times where things barely land, like even in that fight. Like he'll do it, the timing was good. I thought I was out of the way and he just got me, and I'm like, like touche, you still got me. Like good timing, good reach, good distance. And then everyone's like, whoa, he's acknowledging it. Like, whoa. And I was like, oh, fuck, all right, I better stop doing that. And then you're saying I did it again. I mean, I don't know how people look at it that way. It just shows you how composed I am in there, how relaxed I am in there. I'm sitting there going, oh, you're well done. You got me one. You know what I mean? It shows you, like, I'm not even expecting you to land one. So I'm surprised. Then I'm saying, well done. Congratulations. That's all you're going to get. You know what I mean? Like that's how I'm looking at it. People looking at it different. I feel like me sitting there and them just touching and me going, oh, yeah, well done. And then you got, especially in that, look, man, I don't want to get into that. But I mean, in his fight, like doing these things, I'm like, it's full losing composure. Like, how does that not look worse than me going, yeah, well done. But I don't know. People look at it different. Maybe I've got to work on it, because at the end of the day, all that matters is what everyone else thinks, right? And what them judges think. So if that is really going to be something that sticks in their head, we talk about being smart, fighting smart, having IQ. I need to work on that. So maybe I need to do something about that.
Earlier in the week, Charles had said that October might be too soon for him to fight Islam in Abu Dhabi. So I'm curious, did you hear that? And if not, does that kind of make you circle that date even more?
Well, it makes it a lot better opportunity for me to step in there. But I mean, like I said, I'm not ruling that out. It's funny, these people want extra time. Like, here I'm telling you I'm going to get surgery, and I'm probably going to turn up there on October. So that's what I'm showing you. You know what I mean? Find me a champ. There's not many of them anyway. I know you maybe got your Izzies and myself that is doing this. We're going out there, we're staying active, we're fighting the fights that a lot of people wouldn't. So I think people need to respect that a lot. People talk about BMFs and all that type of stuff. They're real BMFs. Guys that turn up when there's a lot on the line. I'll leave it at that.
Alex over here. One more quick, sorry. You had the face-off with Ilya cage side when you were leaving. Historically, you and Max have been pretty respectful. Like, I know you and Brian got under each other's skin on The Ultimate Fighter, but he talks a lot, and he hopped the barricade to face off you. Does that get you excited that you'll have also a foil at press conferences and in the media to
100%. See, mine and Ortega's was a little bit, it's weird. Just spend too much time to each other and we just got annoyed with each other. This guy's going to be just talking his shit. And I love that. I'm like, yeah, talk your shit. Now I can have fun with it and punch you in the face for it. You know what I mean? And feel good punching your head through the canvas. Because again, I'm a squash that bloke, so it doesn't matter.
Alex over here. How cool was it to see Dan Hooker get that win, and then you going to your fight? Were you kind of paying attention to that and thought, man, I got to go up there and keep? Yeah,
we'll put a video out there. We'll go nuts for that. It was a cracking fight, man. It was nuts, man. How tough is that bloke? And then breaking his arm and still going through it. I mean, these are things that, we talk about BMFs and doing things like that. Like some of the things you see people do in this sport is pretty incredible. It was cool. It was cool to see, especially to get his hand raised after a war like that against a game opponent. Jalen Turner is no joke. He's dangerous, and to be able to land, cop some of them shots, break your arm, and then still end up on top, is pretty incredible.
Did Dan's fight a bit remind you of your situation last year with Holloway, where people were kind of counting you out against Holloway and Hooker? You look at the odds. He was a big underdog tonight. Came out there, had a tough first round, but persevered and got the decision victory. I don't know if that's something you guys talked about or not.
No, it's not. But I mean, that happens all the time. People get hit out all the time. That's just how it is. I mean, it's going to be the same with Pantoja, say. Like, he's beat Moreno twice, and he's an underdog and saying he's got no chance. Like, you can imagine how he would be. That's going to happen, and you've got to go prove yourself. But, I wasn't surprised. I know Dan was a total different matchup for Jalen with that length and toughness was going to go a long way. And that showed out tonight. His toughness and obviously the fight IQ, that length and that well-roundedness.
And just last one for me. Again, you were here a year ago today, big win over Holloway. A lot has happened in the year. You had the fight with Islam. It was very close. You get this performance tonight finishing Yair Rodriguez. I know you're fresh off the victory, but you've been able to kind of soak this in. How much you've really leveled up just in the grand scheme of things. Now, people consider you the greatest fighter, in the sport right now.
I don't ever get to soak it in properly, to be quite honest. I wish I did soak it in more. It's a good trait to have where I can just move on and play what's in front of me. And, it makes me be able to, in camps, I tell you, I can still, turn up in the gym and it helps me with all that type of stuff. But I feel like I don't try and really soak it in and enjoy it enough and embrace it enough. So I will, obviously I appreciate everything. I appreciate the fans. I appreciate the love, but I forget about it like that. Again, it's a good thing to have because it keeps me disciplined. It keeps me, grounded. But at the same time, I wish I could really appreciate it and understand what I'm doing right now because it's pretty incredible. 5 defenses, 7 title fights I think I've had. It's pretty crazy. It seems like yesterday I got the belt, you know what I mean? And look what we're starting to do. So it's pretty crazy. I think I need to really sit down and really, really take it all in.
Alex, right here. Down here.
Go ahead, please.
Thanks. You said before the fight that you weren't too impressed with Ilya and you didn't really want to talk about him too much. Can you talk about him now? What you think about him as a challenger?
It's funny with this one, you want to talk up your opponents, right? You want everyone to know, so it's funny. But I mean, he's going to talk his shit. So I remember I can say whatever I wanted to, people don't have to believe it. But I was sitting there, I was like, maybe I shouldn't say how easy I think that fight's going to be because then people might not be interested. But he's going to talk his shit, so people are going to want to see me punch him in the face, so it don't matter. But, I look at that as, again, no disrespect to the bloke, but the shit he's doing ain't going to work on me. And hopefully you get to see that soon.
And you, of course, faced off, like you mentioned, but what did you say to each other?
Oh, nothing. I told him, I go, yeah, come on, jump over. Let's do a little face-off. Let's amp it up a little bit. See what it has. And I said to him, I go, man, I thought you were a bit taller because everyone's so much taller than me. I'm like looking eye to eye, and I'm like, psh. I was going, man, I was about to say I got this 71-inch reach, which is a lie, but I should run with that. But it's again, no disrespect to the bloke. He is a good fighter. He's undefeated. Can't wait to take that 0.
Alex, right here. That finishing sequence is just unbelievable. The strikes into the takedown and the ground and pound. Did that feel as seamless to you in that moment as it looked to us observing it?
I don't know. It's weird. I was so clear-headed while that was happening. I went there, throwing the punches, even though he's sort of hurt, I've seen him in these positions throw crazy shit, her elbows. I'm like, all right, I better take him down because I know I'm just going to squash and punch his head through the canvas. So I was like, it was weird how calm and composed I was through that. I picked him up, dumped him, got on there. Oh, yeah, this is the position. Oh, yeah, he won't get out. All right, let's just ground and pound. The rest going to have to stop it. It was weird how I went through it. I probably should have loaded him up a little bit more, just fucking really be dramatic with it. But I mean, it was good. I love my ground and pound. Everyone, it's starting to be a bit more of an iconic Volk sort of a tradition to just rain down some ground and pound bombs.
Can you remember another moment in your career, another fight where you've had that clear-headedness in a sequence like that?
I'm pretty clear-headed all the time, to be quite honest. But maybe in the heat of the moment like that, while you're getting the finish, like that. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Depends. It depends how you look at it. Obviously, Islam being in certain positions where most people would freak out, and I'm sitting there, laughing it off, having a laugh with him. I guess people would look at that and be like, it's pretty crazy. But I mean, people don't know what I'm doing in the gym. I'm like in them positions with absolute killers that are twice the size of me. So that's why I'm sitting there laughing at lightweights doing it to me.
Yeah, no, your 6th title fight win tonight. There's natural comparisons, especially with Jose Aldo being inducted in the Hall of Fame on Thursday. Are you still
well deserved as well?
Yeah, are you still of the mindset to be called the featherweight GOAT, that you need to hit that 8 where he's at, or do you feel like now?
I mean, the man just got a Hall of Fame and all that. Like, I'm not here to try and take, I'll let everyone else sort of decide that. He's an absolute legend of the sport. No one deserves a Hall of Fame more than him. And to see how passionate he was going in there, and like that was as raw as it got, like when he got emotional like that, and that was cool to see. Almost brought a tear to my eyes, to be quite honest. But absolute legend. Very happy for him, and that's for people to decide, not me.
And just last thing, if this Islam fight does happen again, what in your mind is the biggest thing you need to do differently to make it definitive in your favor?
I mean, it's going to be another, like, I'll be lying to you and say, hey, I'm just going to walk through him and do this and do that. Like, it's going to be another highly contested battle, but I guarantee you I get my hand raised. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to capitalize on a lot more things. But yeah, again, it really is 2 top guys going at it. And they've done 5 rounds, and you're going to see there's a good chance you might see another 5 rounds of it. I'd love to get a finish, but we're both that good. It might be that type of fight. But looking forward, again, it's a challenge, another challenge that excites me. So, that's why I obviously want it. Because that's what keeps you. Again, we talk about I don't need to be motivated, but it's exciting when I can have guys like that in front of me. Like that camp that I had, I did like 14 weeks. You know what I mean? Like it's just so good to have someone like that in front of you, and you ask about how do you get better. It's things like that get you better. Certain opponents in front of you that get you better. Like I told myself, I need to work on this. Where you're at now is not good enough. Like in that fight, he got his hand raised. Do I think I won? Yeah, I do. But he got his hand raised. All right, I need to work on these things. So I'm going to evolve again. And then, these lightweights and featherweights aren't going to stand a chance.
Hey, Alex, were you able to watch Rob's fight?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I watched that. Obviously, unfortunate for Rob. And, man, did not expect that. Like, I think there might be footage of me. I'm like, like Robbie's obviously very well-rounded, no joke. Man, Dricus did it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, Izzy talks about manifesting things. I'm like, oh yeah, like, is this thing legit or what? Is this manifesting thing? Like, that's no joke. Like, he literally manifests things and it fucking happens. Like, you know what I mean? He's on another level. Izzy's got some sort of crazy powers or something, like, because I did not expect that to happen.
What do you think of Izzy versus Dricus?
Obviously he looked great to take out someone like Rob, man, credit to him. But, Izzy's, I highly doubt he's going to be able to land on Izzy and even get on top. And, yeah, man, look, I think Izzy's just going to be too good. But to take out Rob like that, you've got to be hyped up for that fucking fight. So, I mean, if he can go out there and take out, honestly, Robbie's one of the best in the world, literally, and he was able to beat him. So you can never count that guy out. He knows how to fucking win. Excuse my French.
And one last one. It was announced Max versus Zombie. Obviously, you fought both of them. A lot of people are like, Max, it's why did he even make this fight? Max is going to make it look. He's like, what are your thoughts on the matchup? I
mean, they're both tough. It's going to be a fun fight. I guarantee you. Yeah, Max, I think Max is going to win, yeah, but Zombie's going to be there. You're going to just see, 2 zombies just going at it. They're just going to beat the shit out of each other. So everyone's in for a good night of fights for that one too, I think. Yeah, again, they both got solid chins. I wanted to take that Max granite chin, that legendary chin out. I couldn't do it. I don't think anyone can. So I've given up, and I think everyone should just give up. And I think it's going to be, it'll be hard for Zombie. I think that's going to be Zombie's best chance. But I mean, it's going to be hard to do.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That right there is the UFC featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski, one of the very best fighters in the world today. And that I mean, aside from a belt, I gotta say, feels like Volk should get a cool belt of his own. We gave Yair, interim champion, this super sick belt, and Volk, guy they are now anointing incorrectly as the featherweight GOAT. Arguably correctly as the best fighter in the world today. He's just rocking a regular old, we can't get him an Aussie color. We'll talk about that and more, though, because the UFC 290 post-fight press conference is a wrap. UFC 290 is in the books completely, and that means one thing, ladies and gentlemen. The UFC 290 post show is on the way. Keep it locked right here to the MMAfighting.com great website, YouTube channel. We'll be back. Mike Heck, more people, not entirely sure, but we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes. Casey, it's been a pleasure. Love y'all.
What a card. What a card.
What a card.